I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have a very exciting guest. She is an actress, comedian, singer, and recently crowned RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 10 winner. She was hosting a North American tour of Hocus Pocus Live, and I've been told has strong opinions about Cats the Musical, so I'm very excited. So welcome, the iconic Ginger Minj, and thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to join. I do have a lot of strong opinions on both the musical and the animal.
Well, let's start there. So I always like to hear with the beginning of your Cats journey, because mine was recent. I never saw the musical till 2016. So I knew nothing about this musical until recently. I guess the past, it's almost 10 years now, but this show's been going on for about 6. So when was the first time you saw Cats the musical?
I remember the first Cats thing I ever saw was I was watching PBS when I was little, and they had that commercial that would run over and over and over for their filmed Broadway production of Cats.
Yeah, okay.
And I just remember seeing Rum Tum Tugger in his codpiece and big fur mane gyrating on PBS while they were asking me to donate money for a VHS and a tote bag.
Yeah. Did you order the VHS?
Of course I did. I wanted to see more of that codpiece and fur mane.
Okay, so your introduction was the commercial for the 1998 movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I can only imagine you sitting watching on, this is years ago, and you're watching that and you're getting it served on PBS.
Yeah, I was a child and I was like, I love musical theater and I love outrageous costumes. I don't understand what is happening. So maybe if I get the VHS and watch it, I'll have context and then I'll understand what's happening. I did not.
Yeah.
I did not. I still to this day do not understand what the hell is happening.
Okay. So I can answer that question for you, but what is your interpretation? I mean, what was that first viewing like? As I would assume you got to be young still at this point watching this chaotic musical.
I mean, I had to be in my early teens
at
this point. I was born in 84. So yeah, I mean, I was probably like 13, 14, maybe 15. Doubt it. I don't know. I thought that nothing was happening and also everything in the world was also happening at the same time. It seemed like an allegory for life and death and being chosen. I never really got it. I still don't get it. And then I remember seeing that it was based on the T.S. Eliot book. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, maybe if I get the book and read that, I'll have more context.
Help you.
No, that was actually less helpful.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it out on my own.
I love that we had the same journey, but I did it in my, late 20s, early 30s because that was the first time I saw it. And I got the book, same thing. I read the book. And the craziest part to me is that the book didn't help, but the main Grisabella, the main song at the end, that poem's not in the book. And so they've kind of built this character around a story. And the rumor is T.S. Eliot said it was too scary for children. And so that's why it didn't make the book. But that's what they, center a lot of the story around, which is, I think, a very crazy part, that this kind of like kids heavy musical that a lot of children go to is based around a character that the writer thought was too scary for children.
So did T.S. Eliot actually write that character and not put it into the book?
Yeah, so that story, Grisabella the Glamour Cat, was a poem that I think his wife or his widow found after he died, and they shared that, and that was kind of the genesis of how they kind of pieced that in with the rest of the book.
Well, at least that makes a little more sense, because I felt like it was just, created out of whole cloth for the musical.
Totally. I mean, it's an 80s mega musical. It was created with some other support, I believe, probably at that moment in time. There's no way that creativity was just natural, in my opinion.
Yes, well, maybe natural.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And then, of course, I never saw the original Broadway production in all the years that it ran in person. So whenever the Broadway revival came around, the last one, it's like, well, let me go see, because as much as I don't really get into cats, I was like, maybe I'll just understand it a little bit more if it's happening. And if not, at least it'll be a great spectacle. And then I got there and it was like a bunch of inflatables. It looked like a giant bounce house full of people in cat costumes that were falling apart.
So did you see the tour or the Broadway revival, like on Broadway?
I saw it on Broadway, and I don't remember a whole lot about it because I know that I fell asleep during it.
Oh, no.
I didn't feel like it would. This is not like to say anything about the performers, because the performers in that show from the beginning until now are always exceptionally talented. You have to be so, so good in order to do all the things they need you to do. But I felt production-wise, I was like, this isn't even as good as the video that I used to watch. And I still do not understand what is going on.
Yeah. So did you see Leona Lewis? Was it kind of in the beginning when she was the Grisabella? Do you remember?
I don't remember, to be completely honest with you. I saw, I mean, it didn't last very long.
It did probably. It was 2016 till probably 18 or 19.
Did it last that long?
Yeah, it did. I think it did about 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And then it went on tour. And it went on tour for, well, it started on tour and then COVID hit. And then it went back on tour for 2 more years in the US after.
Huh. Well, yeah. I learn something every day.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to go back though too, because I am fascinated by seeing it, and the bounce castle. I've always joked that there is an inflatable set that they use. I thought it was just on the tour, but it might have been the Broadway one, and I've always called it the bounce castle set. So the fact that you said that also is hilarious. But I want to go back to that first VHS viewing. Did you gravitate towards a certain character besides Tugger? Because obviously you had that, like, the Rum Tum Tugger was the reason you ordered the DVD.
Well, the Rum Tum Tugger made me a very curious cat, to be completely honest. I love Magical Mr. Mistopheles. I think that's still probably the best number in the show. But I love a villain. So McCavity was always like it for me. Once I saw the show, I was like, this is like the piece of the show that really draws me in.
Okay. What was like? How would you describe it to somebody now? If they're going to go see it in some regional house, you've now been exposed to it. How would you, like, what is your story of Cats?
My story of Cats now is it's just a bunch of cats who meet up in a junkyard and tell you about their life and what's going on. Do we understand it? No, but we don't have to because we're not cats.
Okay. And then they decide to pick one at the end.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. You know, there's a lot of people there. Some of them have very furry backs. Most of them pretend to dance, and there's some cat fights. And then at the end, one is chosen and everybody else is upset.
One of the reasons I was really excited to talk to you about this is because I do think there is a parallel with RuPaul's Drag Race. Because when I first saw it, I saw Leona Lewis and I immediately thought X Factor. And I do think there's a competition level to this show. So could we, like, how would you incorporate, like, could we incorporate more cats into RuPaul's Drag Race? Like, is that a possibility for the future?
Now, I know in UK, they did a whole cats-based musical challenge. What is it, Rats, the musical?
Rats? I don't think I saw that
I think it was the second season of Drag Race UK. I think it was. But yeah, it was all parodies of musical numbers from Cats where they were all rats. And then the lip sync for your life at the end was To Memory.
Wow.
Which actually turned out to be a really beautiful lip sync.
Yeah.
You know, I remember listening to the spoilers when they came out and went, oh, this is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be iconically good or iconically bad. It was iconically good. It was really good. But yeah, I mean, there is a competition aspect to it. And at the end, only one can be chosen. So I think that does kind of parallel all reality competition, but particularly Drag Race because you're doing it with dance numbers.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see the Jellicle Ball, the kind of newer version that happened this past summer that's transferring to Broadway?
I did not see it, but my boyfriend went to see it and said that it was just the best thing he's ever seen. He also loves cats as an animal. Cats are his favorite thing in the world.
Okay.
So he's always loved the musical, but he did say that he understood what was happening a lot better in Jellicle Ball. and that all of the choices that were made seemed very smart and very specific.
Yeah. I was asking because for anybody that I know that went to the Jellicle Ball, especially if they were like, I'm not really sure the plot, they did a really good job of adding the ballroom element to tell the plot, and kind of took some of the cats' costumes out of it and made it more human elements from the ballroom. And so
which I love.
Yeah.
I love that. I also love when you can take something that everybody thinks they know and completely like reinvent it in a way that makes it more accessible to what's going on today.
If you were reinventing cats, how would you reinvent it?
See, I've always wanted to just press play on the soundtrack recording and dump a bunch of real cats on stage as an immersive production, just to kind of see what happens.
I mean, I think you could do that. You just get 30, 40 cats, put them on there, and then, we can make that happen.
Yeah, all we have to do is turn the bass up so it vibrates them enough that they're on edge.
Yeah, I think, cats are already on edge, right? Or I guess they're either completely on edge or they don't care at all.
At all, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we would still get the story if we did that? Like, would we get any elements of them, or would they just kind of like plop down and just sit in the spotlight?
Well, I don't know, because I would probably understand it as much as I always have.
Okay. I want to talk about the Chaotic Cats movie, though. Did you go in to December of 2019, Christmas, and go see that movie?
No, I did not. Honestly, I don't know why I didn't go see it in the movie theater. I try to see every musical because I think the more we can support musical movies, the more we're likely to get. But there was a reason why I didn't go. And then, of course, all the reviews started trickling out and all the spoilers. And I'm like, I don't know that I could sit in public and watch this. And especially me, I don't do any kind of marijuana. So I was like, if I'm going to be completely sober through this, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So I waited until the pandemic. I had nothing else to do. We all gathered around in the living room and we put it on. And I think we made it 20 minutes in before we just had to give up. It wasn't even so bad it was good. It was just boring bad.
I'm convinced there's a good movie there if you re-edited the dancing, because there's such a talented cast in there, and I just couldn't see the dancers.
I was excited about the cast on paper, and then I saw what they did with them, and they're almost like unrecognizable because of the CGI. And I was like, I think that was the wrong way to go. For years, they talked about doing it as an animated movie, and I thought that made the most sense.
That is, and it was Spielberg was tied to it, and so I've seen the pictures. Like, there's every once in a while, someone will post the drawings that were made for the animated one, and I'm so sad we never got that. It just
I haven't seen it, but I would love to see it because in my head that makes complete sense.
It does. It's perfect for that. It's you can create them however you want. You can still have the best singers and performers do the audio, or to your idea, we can just throw the cast album on and just animate around it, and we're good to go.
Exactly. But that's the thing. Like I wanted to see cats. Like I wanted to see like actual cats living in this world and singing these songs, which I know they tried to do with the CGI to make them a lot more anthropomorphic, but it didn't work. Like the balance just wasn't there. It made them creepy and hard to look at.
Yeah, it was. I think the news spiraled it too much because you heard so much about how bad it was, and I think if they would have leaned into the camp, I still think there's a Rocky Horror element to this show where you could bring it back every year and have some fun and like go in and have a drink or do whatever vice you want and just kind of lean into the chaos. But I think we're a few years away. It still needs to be further removed for that.
We'll give it time. Let it breathe a little bit.
I did watch it during the pandemic. I saw a press viewing, which was a full theater of like family, friends, and people like journalists or people associated it. And when that group started laughing, I was like, this is not a good sign. Like, this is not a funny moment that people are laughing. And in the pandemic, I think it popped up on Netflix or somewhere where you could just watch it for free. Mm-hmm. And so I threw it on for my family, and they all about 25, 30 minutes in, they're like, does this get better? And I'm like, it's kind of the same way the whole way through. If you have a certain song you want to hear, we can fast forward. and they made it through like one more song, and then
But that's the thing about Cats. I mean, it's not really a linear musical. Not enough happens to be like, this is plot A and this is plot B, and we have to somehow make it to C by the end. It's just a whole bunch of things happening until we actually get to the one minor plot point.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, especially with, there's like parts of the musical that in some cases are in Act 1, in some cases are in Act 2, and they kind of move them around, and depending on what version you see. And so there are a few, for sure, things that people agree on from the plot, and then there's a lot that's just super open to interpretation.
Yeah. And I don't think that really works for a movie. Like even with Hair on stage is pretty plotless. It's just a bunch of scenes, which is great, and it works beautifully on stage. But for the movie, they obviously had to invent some sort of plot because we have to go on some journey. You know, we can't just be in the tribe like we are in a theater because it's a shared space. So it just doesn't, I don't know. It's hard to invest in the characters if there's nothing to invest in.
Yeah. It's a very ensemble-based show. Hair's the same way, you know, where you're following through, and I think part of like what makes Cats unique from watching it live is you could watch a different cat at any moment, and you're going to get a different part of the story. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that in a movie unless you just zoom out and let them kind of do their thing. So they were pointing us to where they thought we should look, and I think that's what kind of hurt a little bit in the sense of like, I really just wanted them to, I just want to see a wide-angle shot of all those dancers doing that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. Okay, I've made you talk about cats enough. We'll come back to some cats at our rapid fire at the end, but I want to talk about the year you've had and some of the stuff that you have coming up next year, because I mean, you've done a lot this year with the, you know, obviously your win with the All Stars 10, Hocus Pocus Live. You got new songs out. I spent all morning listening to everything on Spotify of yours, which was fun to. Kind of a fun, I was working today, and it was great to have on in the background. I enjoyed the Defying Gravity and Fabulous Baby and a couple other songs here. So
thank you.
Let's start with Hocus Pocus Live, because that was such a, I mean, we're just after Halloween, so we're recording this, you know, just after that point. But that's a classic movie, and I know such a fun story for you to kind of share a little bit about. I'm sure you've talked a lot about it on this press tour, but tell me a little bit about like kind of what your favorite moments of doing that tour was.
Well, I mean, I was 9 years old when the movie came out. It was, 93 is when it came out. I was born in 84, so 9. And it came out in the summer. It came out in July. And not a lot of people remember that. But we didn't have a whole lot of money when I was growing up, so we always had to wait for the movie to go to the Dollar Theater, which was down the street from the house. So by October, it was in the Dollar Theater, and I would take my allowance and ride my bike over there and just watch it over and over and over again. Because I love Halloween. I love dressing up, obviously. And I love like spooky season, but I don't love horror. So it felt like it was finally just the right amount of scary, with like glitter and musical numbers peppered in, that I really was attached to it. So flash forward all these years later, I did Dumplin' on Netflix for Anne Fletcher, who ended up directing Hocus Pocus 2. So she had called me and she said, I know you're such a huge fan. I would love to include you in this somehow. So grab a couple of your Drag Race sisters, come in and do this film with us. We spent 2.5 weeks in Newport, Rhode Island, shooting overnights with Bette and Kathy and Sarah. And we learned so much just by watching them. I always say that Bette Midler has become my accidental drag mother, because the last shot that we did of our entire 2.5 weeks was probably 4 or 5 in the morning, the last day. It's freezing outside, and it's my close-up. And they tried to cheat it. They were like, all right, we're just going to set up here and get it, and then we'll be done. And Bette Midler said, no, bring the monitor. So they bring the monitor over, and she looks around on the monitor. She goes, those lights are on. They need to go over there. The camera needs to come from this angle and then push up this way. We'll be in the trailer. And she grabs my hand and walks me off. And as we're walking off, she goes, I'm not always going to be around to look for these things. You need to start looking for them yourself. I was like, oh, okay, thank you, Mother. And we sat for an hour in the trailer together, just like chit-chatting about life and career while they set everything else up. And she said, I've seen a lot of drag queens play me as this character, but I really like the way that you do it because I feel like you get it. I feel like you get the nuance of it. You've seen me do it in person, so I see you picking up little things. I want you to do something with it. And I said, well, what? And she said, I don't know, a fucking show or something. I can't figure everything out. I'm like, well, that's probably the most Bette Midler as Winifred Sanderson moment I could ever have. So I just thought about it like over and over. I was like, well, what am I going to do? And then it dawned on me, I was like, I can do a show, but I don't want to do what's already been done. I don't want to retell the same story. I don't want to tell the story of Hocus Pocus 2. What would happen if these girls came back for one more night and they have to put on some kind of rock concert in the middle of trying to stay alive forever? So the show grew from there, the concept of it. And it's become literally like a rock concert. We have this giant kabuki screen that the story of how we come back is projected on it. Then there's the silhouette of us, and then it drops, and we're in place. And those people scream and shout and stomp their feet and clap their hands from the second we make our appearance to the end of I Put a Spell on You 2.5 hours later. My favorite thing about that show is just seeing how much these characters resonate with people all these years later. Like, we had to find these characters. It was a flop when it came out. And Bette and Sarah and Kathy, they made a point to tell the three of us doing these drag versions of them in the movie, thank you so much. It's the drag artists who have kept these characters alive for all these decades. So it's not something we ever take lightly. We always know that there's people really, really love these girls, and we can't let up on that. We can't just walk through it or go through the motions. We have to really live in it. And being surrounded by Jujubee and Saphira, and also Landon Sider as Billy Butcherson, it was just fun. Like, it's fun, and the energy coming from the stage into the audience and vice versa is like nothing else I've ever experienced.
That's, I wish I could have saw it. It's one of those things where I like, as I read everything about it and as I watched all the clips I could find, everything I could, I was like, this is great.
It's coming back. It's coming back bigger and better next year.
That was going to be my next question. I loved, so I saw obviously the movie when it came out, same thing, because I think we're fairly close in age. So same type of thing.
I'm 41.
Okay. So I'm late 30s, and it was the same thing of like, this is not really horror. It's got some comedy. But then they did a 30-year, they brought it back to theaters a couple years ago. And I had more fun going to see it like on a big screen in a theater around Halloween for that. And just was like, I forgot how great this movie is. Like, I almost forgot how much fun it is.
And it's so visually beautiful. That movie is just stunningly shot. And I think the second one looks really beautiful as well. And I was, luckily enough, since I was part of the film, I got to go to two premiere screenings. So I got to see part 2 on the big screen, which made it a lot more impressive and immersive and satisfying.
Yeah. I'm sure seeing the outcome after being so involved in the day-to-day making of it, it's like you see how the sausage is made, and then you get to go see the final output. It's got to be one of the coolest experiences.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like one of the coolest moments ever was, I think our second to last day, maybe early on the last day of our 2.5 weeks, I was standing with Cornbread and Kimora on the lawn while the 3 witches flew over the crowd. And like in that moment, I was 9 years old again. We're all holding hands and just like sobbing because it's magical, even though we can look up and we see the green screens and the wires and everything. So to see that in person and then see like what it actually looked like in the movie, it was just so fulfilling.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I'm going to put in the description for everybody the link, because if it's coming back, I'll put in the link for when you announce your new dates and where you're going, because I think it'll be great for next year. I also want to hear a little bit about, you just released Fabulous Baby from Sister Act, and then I also listened to a bunch else. How do you decide what you're gonna publish and produce and sing and put out there for the world?
Well, I'm a musical theater brat. I don't remember a time not being on stage. Like I said, we didn't have a whole lot of money when I was growing up. So the cheapest and safest babysitting my mom could find was to volunteer me at the community theater to play babies. So at 6 months old, I was the baby and fiddler on the roof. And then once the theater had me, they were like, oh, well, we could put a baby in this show. We could put a baby in that show. So I literally grew up in the spotlight, which is so weird because I am such a shy person outside of character, whether it's drag or a musical theater role or whatever. I am very shy and I don't like a lot of attention, but I have never felt safer or more comfortable than in a spotlight center stage. So growing up like that, of course, as it so often does, it led to me discovering drag through theater, where I was like, oh, I finally have a chance to produce, costume, act, direct, and play all of these roles that were off limits to me before. I can just be and do anything that I want to do. So I did. I started doing just all the musical theater roles that I had been told no for, or just had no shot in hell at getting beforehand. And then as I drifted more into the professional drag world, the Broadway kind of had to take a backseat, because it wasn't super marketable. And especially on a platform like RuPaul's Drag Race, you have to be a little more all-encompassing and not so niche. Especially, back when I started Drag Race 11 years ago, it was its own specific type of drag. And then now that I'm 41 years old, I lost 200 pounds this year. I feel healthier and more spry and more beautiful and happier than I've ever been. I feel a lot more centered in my being cosmically. And I felt like now was the perfect time to remarry my drag with my musical theater roots. So I'm releasing an EP called Ginger Minj, The Broad's Way. And I wanted to put songs on there that mean something to me. So of course, Defying Gravity was the first single we released at the end of the season. And Fabulous Baby, we just released a couple of days ago. And it's one of those songs I put on every time I'm getting into drag, because she's telling this story of I know I'm amazing and I have tried to show all of you and tell all of you that I'm amazing, but you keep telling me I'm not. But I don't need you to tell me that I am, because I know that I have what it takes to be a star. And particularly with a lot of not my fan base, but the Drag Race general fan base, there's been a lot of negativity over the years. And I have felt like no matter what I do sometimes, more than a lot of other queens, I feel like I end up under a microscope, and everything that I do gets dissected and torn apart. Particularly after I won, there was a lot of discourse about that, which, on one hand is disheartening. On the other hand, it's like, yay, talk about me, because no publicity is bad publicity. Yeah. But when I started listening to Fabulous Baby over and over again, I was like, I don't need you to love what I've done, because I love what I've done and I love who I've become. And I know how much I have to offer the world. So that's why that song was really important for me to put on this album. And then there's some other fabulous ones that are coming down the pike.
Now, I was gonna say, can you tease any of what's coming for the next songs? Is there any
there
cats
is no cats on this go round, but
okay.
There is, oh God, I want to tell you all of them, but there's some classic Broadway, some good big belty show tunes. There's also some more modern hits on there, and I couldn't do a Broadway album without putting a little bit of Sondheim in there. Yeah,
of course. Okay, well, we'll just have to wait for the full
soon.
Drop, and I can't wait. And then I know you have a film coming out. So are you, how much are you allowed to share about the film next year that's
it's called
release?
Stop That Train. It stars Juju B and myself. We are the stars of the movie alongside RuPaul. And it's good. It's good. And I'm telling you that because as somebody who did the Christmas movie, How the Bitch Stole Christmas, for VH1 a couple of years ago, and went into that knowing it was never going to be great. It was going to be fun, but it was what it was supposed to be for what it was. You know what I mean? It was kind of Cats, for what it was. It was fun. But going into this one, I didn't have I won't say the highest expectations, because I always do projects where I feel like the benefit's going to be there, but I didn't know how good it was going to be. We stepped onto set for the first day in our costumes on these gorgeous practical sets, directed by Adam Shankman, choreographed by Jamal Sims. Salvador Perez, who did the costumes for Hocus Pocus 2, was our costumer for this film. And he, like, his eye for detail is just like chef's kitchen. It is so gorgeous. So, like, visually, the movie is already incredible. Jujubee and I did all of our own stunts. It is a disaster movie, a funny disaster movie, a la Barb and Star meet Airplane. But yeah, we did all of our own stunts, and they were intense. They were grueling. But it's really good. It's really, really, really good. And it comes out May 29th.
May 29th. Okay, we'll also link the website there so people can see where it's playing near them. And
Jujubee and I have decided this is the spiritual threequel to Wicked.
Okay, this is part 3. This is the Wizard of Oz, basically.
Sure, on a train.
Yeah. If that's what gets people in, let's do it.
We're holding space for it.
Yeah, holding space, exactly. Someone has to come in, and you have to defend your you and Juju because of the partnership, like Cynthia.
Oh, we've already made the pact
during all the promotion.
When we go on this press tour, I'm wearing pink, she's wearing green, and we're holding space for everything. Yeah. Damn it!
Just lean into do every single thing that they did there, and try to get a little parody of that. Okay, let's go into some Cats rapid fire here to close us out. So, if you could play any character in Cats for one night, who do you want to perform?
Oh, I want to be Rum Tum Tugger.
Tugger, bring him back to the PBS days.
It was my first love of Cats was Rum Tum Tugger, and I feel like it's the only role that I'm ever like, oh God, I just want to sing that song. I just want to dance around in that costume.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's such a great moment in the song. It's early in the musical. It's so fun. It kind of gets to do whatever he wants. I do think it's one of the few characters that gets a little bit more freedom to like mess with the audience, and kind of like they kind of have a lot of freedom in the role. So it has to be one of the most fun to be.
And I have never seen a bad Rum Tum Tugger. No, they've always been great.
Of course. They're always great. Do you have a favorite and least favorite character in Cats?
I don't really love Gus the theater cat. I don't love it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't dislike any of them, but I think of like the moments in the show that I find to be a little snoozy. I think that whole segment just doesn't really speak to me, which is weird because I love theater. But I think it could have been a lot more, you know. And who do I really love? Oh, McCavity. Yeah, I just love McCavity as a villain. I think it's just a spectacular villain.
I got in trouble on one of the recent recordings because my hot take for the show was I thought the beginning of Act 2 can be slow if it's, you know, it kind of comes in and that's the best part and the moments of happiness. And it's beautiful, but it's like you just come off of that massive dance number to end Act 1 and, you know, Grisabella singing the like parts
and
of
everybody's been drinking their $40 cup of wine and eating their $27 M&Ms, and they're tired. They don't want to start off slow. They want to start off with a bang. So I think that's also why
I agree.
It just doesn't speak to me because it's slow. It's hard to ramp back up into whatever plot there is.
You got to get to McCavity and Skimbleshanks and Mistopheles. It comes together at the end though, in that little stretch. Favorite song on the show?
My favorite song is probably Mistopheles. Yeah.
Mistopheles, okay. And then if you could have any cat be in like a drag queen, like which one would you want to transform into a drag queen?
I think Grisabella is screaming to be a drag queen.
Yeah.
She's so dramatic.
Yeah, I could see it. Totally.
Her coat. She's got the runny mascara. And she just is so dramatic every time she hits the stage. And what drag queen doesn't want a great death scene? You know, like fainting on her chaise. Yeah, definitely Grisabella.
Okay. And then my $1 million question, I ask everybody this because this is what this show centers around, but I didn't think Grisabella should be picked at the end of the musical to be sacrificed. So I want to know who's your Jolicle choice and why.
Oh, I don't know. How about Mr. Mistopheles so he could resurrect because he's so magical?
I love it. Yep. Any vote that's not Grisabella, I'm not going to argue with you.
I just think it would be fun, almost like in the vein of Pippin, where they have the whole magic trick where, you know, he has the option to step into the magic box and see what happens. Well, what if he did step in and the trick worked and he came back?
And it comes back to So, and the other thing is Mistopheles in the Jellicle Ball version actually received the most votes for everyone that was in that production. So I think there's a lot of credence to that. All right. Well, this has been so fun. I loved hearing about what all the stuff you've accomplished and all the things you have coming up, and then obviously having some fun with your cat's lore and history. So we'll link out the movie and Hocus Pocus Live, but how can people stay in touch with you on social media and all those ways?
Oh, yes. Follow me on all platforms. It's easiest just to go to gingerminj.com. That's MINJ. Don't go to MINGE. That is a very different website, and you're probably not going to like it. So go to gingerminj.com. You could follow everything.
Amazing. Well, this has been so fun to chat with you today. Thank you for coming on and sharing all this fun stories and experiences.
Thanks for having me. I had a good time.
Awesome. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of those podcast. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.